Hello friends, welcome to my new data structures and algorithm in Java tutorial series video. Friends, in this tutorial we will discuss how to traverse and print a circular singly linked list in Java. So friends, in my previous tutorial we discussed how we can represent a circular singly linked list, and we also saw how we can implement the circular singly linked list in Java. So in this tutorial we will discuss how we can traverse and print the elements of a circular singly linked list in Java. So here you see below is the algorithm to traverse the circular singly linked list and print the elements data. So here let's see an example when the circular singly linked list is completely empty and last is pointing to null. So friends, we know that when the circular singly linked list is empty, therefore there are no elements and last will point to null. So here when the last points to null, we know that there are no nodes inside this circular singly linked list to traverse. Therefore we are keeping one condition as when the last points to null, then simply return. So here we know that last is pointing to null, so we will simply return from it. So friends, let's see the demonstration of the algorithm with a circular singly linked list having 4 nodes, say 1, 8, 10 and 16, where 16 is the last node and its next is pointing to this first node. Now let's see how we can traverse each element inside this circular singly linked list and print the data with the respective node. So here first we'll check whether last is null or not. So as last is pointing to this fourth node, therefore it's not null. So the condition in if block comes out to be false. So we move ahead. Now friends, as we know that we are keeping the track of this last node, which is the fourth node, and suppose if we want to traverse each and every node and print the data, so we need to start with the first node and then we can print the data accordingly. But as here we are only keeping the track of the last node, so therefore in order to reach this first node, we know that the last node next points to the first node, and we need to traverse circular singly linked list from the first to the last node. So therefore we'll create this first node and we'll assign the value of last dot next to it. So it would look something like this. Moving ahead. So friends, we know that circular singly linked list is basically circular in nature, where first node points to second, second points to third, third points to fourth, and fourth points to the first again. So we need to provide a while loop to traverse each and every node, and we need to take a special care while placing the condition in while loop, because if we place some wrong condition, then we know that as it is circular in nature, therefore this while loop may enter into an infinite loop. So here as we want to traverse each and every node and print the data into the respective node, so we'll traverse till we have reached the last node. So the condition in while loop will put as we'll iterate till first is not equal to last, because when first is equal to last, we know that we have traversed each and every node. So currently first is pointing to this first node and last is pointing to this fourth node, therefore first is not equal to last. So the condition in while loop comes out to be true. So in the first step we'll simply print the data associated with this first node. Moving ahead. So friends, as we have traversed this node, now we need to just move to its next node. So in order to move this first node to its next, we'll simply assign the value of first dot next to first. So here if you see, first is pointing to this first node and its next is pointing to the second node. Therefore we are simply assigning the value of first dot next to first. So it would look something like this. So it simply traverses first to its next position by this statement. Moving ahead. Now again first is not equal to last, therefore condition in while loop comes out to be true. So we'll simply print the data associated with the first node. Moving ahead. Now as we have traversed the second node, So we'll move to the next node. So in order to move this first to its next, we'll simply assign first.next value to first. So first.next points to the third node. So after this statement, it would look something like this. Moving ahead. Now again, first is not equal to last. Therefore the condition in while loop comes out to be true. So in first step, we'll simply print the data associated with this third node. And in the second step, we'll simply traverse first to its next by assigning first.next value to first. So it would look something like this. Moving ahead. So friends, now here you see first and last both are pointing to this fourth node. Therefore first is equal to last. So the condition in while loop comes out to be false. So therefore the while loop breaks out. So friends, here you can see that we had this pointer to this last node and we started traversing and printing of the elements from the first node. So here if you see, the circular singly linked list has 4 nodes and we have traversed 3 nodes by printing 1, 8 and 10. And then in the while loop, when we traverse to the last node, we know that condition in while loop came out to be false as first is equal to last. Therefore we have reached to this node but we haven't printed the data for this last element. So therefore in the last step we'll simply print the data associated with this fourth node. So when we print the data associated with fourth node, we are sure that we have traversed all the nodes and we have print the data associated with the respective nodes. So friends, we saw the demonstration of the algorithm. Now let's move to Eclipse and see the working of the code. So friends, in my previous tutorial, I created one class by name circular singly linked list. And we saw the implementation of circular singly linked list in that tutorial. We basically created few instance variable by name length and last. So this last node was used to keep the track of the last node in circular singly linked list. We also saw how we can create a circular singly linked list and we added these 4 nodes 1, 5, 10 and 15 and we made this linked list circular by assigning this fourth node again to the first. So friends, in this tutorial we will write the code to traverse and print the elements of a circular singly linked list. So we'll create a method as public void. We give the name as display. So this method will simply traverse each and every element in a circular singly linked list and print the data with the respective node. So here first we'll provide a condition as if last equals null. So it means that if circular singly linked list is empty or not. So if circular singly linked list is empty, then we'll simply return and do nothing. Moving ahead, we'll create a list node by name first and we'll assign the value of last dot next to it. So this thing we are doing because we need to traverse the circular singly linked list from first position to the last position and we know that last dot next points to first. So we are simply creating a list node by name first and we are assigning the value of last dot next to it. And then we'll create a while loop. So inside this while loop, we will traverse each and every node of circular singly linked list using this first node. So the condition we provide in while loop is we will traverse this first till it becomes last. And in the while loop, we'll simply first print the data associated with the first node. And in the next step, we'll simply traverse first to its next node by assigning first.next value to first. So here in this while loop, what we are doing is we are printing the data associated with the first node and then we are simply traversing first to its next node by assigning first dot next value to first. So when we are reaching to the last node, we need to print the data associated with the last node as well. So we'll simply print first dot data. Now in main method, let's see the demonstration of this display method. So here first we'll create the instance of circular singly linked list, and then we'll create the circular singly linked list by calling create circular linked list method. So in this method we are simply creating 4 nodes, where first is pointing to second, second is pointing to third, and third is pointing to fourth. And as fourth is the last node, therefore fourth will point again back to the first node. And in the last step we are simply assigning the value of fourth to last, because we are holding this circular singly linked list through this last instance variable. Now let's say we are calling this display method, and if I run the code, so friends, here you see it prints 1, 5, 10, 15, which are actually the 4 nodes in our circular singly linked list. So friends, in this tutorial we discussed how we can traverse a circular singly linked list and print the data associated with respect to nodes. I hope you like this video. Please like, comment, share and subscribe my YouTube channel. Thanks, have a nice day.